Hello there. I'm making a special extra video in light of events, in light of this coming aspect on July 15th, tomorrow, in light of events of the Trump assassination attempt, which I will say right out front, I believe was staged for very many reasons. If you don't agree with me, you don't have to. You don't have to watch my channel. So there, you're probably hearing, if you're following astrology and you follow people like me online, you're probably hearing a lot of stuff about this conjunction of Mars, Uranus, and a fixed star called Algol. So what's the big deal? Mars is our planet of action, passion, destruction, violence, will, war, blood flow, conflict, initiation, and it's in Taurus, which would make it very fixed and stubborn. Think of Mars and Taurus as somebody who, like, once they dig in their argument, that's it. You can't budge them. Think of Mars and Taurus as somebody like a bull who's going to bear down and be extremely strong-willed and steady. Once it decides, you can't change its mind. And all these things matter that, this conjunction is in a fixed signs, because where there are fixed signs, there's more strength, but there's more stubbornness too. There's more rigidity, and therefore the opposition that comes with Mars is going to be met with a wall. And therefore, what you need to do to counteract it or resolve it can escalate even more because of the nature of that stubbornness. Taurus is ruling money, dated, routines, daily lifestyle, financial security, loyalty, possessiveness, what we value, how much abuse we're willing to take and tolerate. Yeah. And also rules food security. So as I've been saying on many of my videos the last few years, with Uranus and Taurus, it's like constant surprises and earthquakes and shocks to those very things I just mentioned. And we've seen it, with soaring housing prices and rents and soaring food prices. We're seeing a bit of it in Europe more than here, but I'm sure it's going to come here as the farming protests. So this conjunction with Uranus and Mars is a big deal because they come together in a very powerful and potentially destructive way. However, I always am a believer that you can take that energy and use it in many different ways. It's like if somebody throws something at you, you can be surprised and be hit in the head. If you're not looking, you can be hit by the ball and be like, oh, ow, oh no, oh. Right? Or you can quickly deflect it, redirect it, bounce it away, or you can catch it. I got it now. And that's how I look at energy in general. When things are good, when things are bad, we have choices. Depends on how we react and how we receive the energy. So, following another astrologer who was quite in depth, quite in detail. I believe her name is Lisa Lothian, if you want to watch her. She went into great detail about all the aspects and when things sort of began and when things will be activated again and how long a time frame we're in for this energy. And pretty much she's delineating 2 years from July 15th, tomorrow, up until July 4th of 2026. We have about 3 activations of Mars and Uranus together. And this one is special because it has Algol, which is a malefic star. So it makes it even a little darker, unfortunately. So we're in huge turning points. I mean, we know this, but this aspect really is the one that can bring more conflict and activation. Also, more breakthroughs, more huge changes. Yeah, I know you're probably going, I'm tired of huge changes. Can we just relax? But that's what happens when you disrupt Taurus like that. And Taurus would like, I just want to be comfortable, man. I just need my roof over my head, my job, my kids, my family, my food. I'm good. Just, and it's all sense of security is highly disrupted during a time like this. And so whatever sign you are, whatever house this is activating for you is where you feel you're going to feel the most challenge to grow and break through, or where we see the most challenge in general in society. So good news is both Canada and the US are Cancers. And even though we just saw an event with Donald Trump come down, which is highly connected to his own chart, and I will go into that. Cancers are actually going to have a more positive experience with this aspect. It's sort of like sextiling. So it's like, it's not a trine like we usually talk about, the triangles, the trions. It's a little more of a relaxed angle that just sort of works together. And so for Cancers, you can sort of expect maybe some little speed bumps or little wrinkles. But other than that, you just sort of wait for things to land. And things can land in your favor. This bodes well for Canada and the US because they are both Cancers. Now, it happens in different houses for each country. But overall, that's a little more encouraging as far as major disruptions in North America. Other countries, I'm not going to go through every country there is, but other major countries, which are different signs, could be harder, depending on where this is activating them. So we're going to take a look at what this Algol is and how that's adding to the mix of this nasty energy. I mean, I'm calling it nasty because let's just say, unless people have done a lot of inner work and they are evolved and mature and they have overcome their unconscious traumas and what drives them and their reactivity, it's pretty hard to turn around that energy if you haven't done a lot of work on yourself and know how. And even when you have done a lot of work on yourself, things can still surprise you in ways that are pretty challenging to adapt to. You have to be sort of a ninja to be like, saw that coming. Ooh, deflect. A lot of us will be like, ow, oh. And then you might sort of have your reaction and then, okay, well, let's get to work on what is this going to look like now, this change? What do I have to do? And others, like we said before with the ball, different reactions to being hit by stuff. So let's just say we call it sort of a malefic or nasty energy because Many people are not at that level. So the reactivity, excuse me, the reactivity will be high. And we know what happens with reactivity in groups and sort of like crowd mindset and throngs. And so that's where it's a little disconcerting, this angle. So let's take a look a little bit at the Algol mythology. So Algol is basically the Medusa story, Perseus and the Medusa. So goddess Minerva or Athena was jealous of the Medusa's beauty and cast a spell on her to have her hair turn into active live snakes that could turn men's faces to stone when they looked at her, ensuring she would never have any suitors or get married. Basically, it's a curse, right? It's a curse. And then we have the, the theme of like somebody being jealous, somebody casting a spell or cursing you, or doesn't mean people literally do that, although some try, but jealousy can cast certainly an energy or a spell that affects your life. And the other side of it is the Perseus mythology, where he basically slays the Medusa and chops her head off, and that's how they kill this demon of the Medusa head. So there's themes about losing your head. It doesn't mean literally like beheading, but it is quite interesting that Trump's assassination attempt, how he staged it, was to have it in the head. Now, there's so many storylines going on right now, and there's so many things this is going to cause that it could easily lead a lot of us to feel like this Medusa screaming with snakes all around us, because it's absolutely crazy making what's going on, how we've lost a sense of morality and facts over the years, a lot thanks to Donald Trump. And now we're adding just one more controversy, one more story, one more thing to dig down the well and wonder and debate and polarize people. And who knows what other kind of legislation or other things they're going to try to slip in behind the scenes while we're busy worrying about this. So you might feel like you want to scream like you're losing your head. There might be people around you that are literally losing their minds as well. Like this could be a symbol for mental health. It can be a symbol for just having a moment or a temporary breakdown or a freak out before you sort of come to terms with something. And the thing is, when we all go through those moments, unless it's a true breakdown and you shut down from it, those moments are also breakthroughs, because you're coming out of denial and illusion about something. You're facing what is there, and you can't do anything about a fire if you refuse to say anything's burning. Then you're like, damn, it's burnt. There's a fire right there. Okay, well now you can go get a blanket to smother it, or you can get some water to, you know what I mean? You can put out the fire. You can assess whether you need to run or you can put it out. So we're sort of all in some aspect of your life, depending on where this hits you. Mars, Uranus, and Algol will give you a bit of a nasty wake-up call about something or someone, or maybe unpleasant thing to face. And yeah, that can make you feel like you're losing your mind for a moment. How did I let this go on so long? Why did I let this person in my life? Why did I stay in this job until it burnt me out. Why, why did we let all these systems of democracy and morality slide? Why did we do that? And you might have your moments. However, like I said, once you've had that moment, catching the ball means, recovering from being hit by the ball, and catching it is, what do I need to do different based on this information now? And then you do have some agency. You've got some power. You can do things. Yeah. I have always felt that we were going to be in a difficult period up until 2026. And I had felt like 2024 to 26 quite intense. I can't tell you, I don't really even want to know all the details in some ways of everything that might be shifting, but it is tectonic. It's huge. What life looks like now and what life's going to look like in 2 years, I think, will be quite dramatically different. And so here's another one of my bits of advice, if you want it, is when there is chaos in some way, when there is disorder, when there is an eruption of certain kinds, yes, it's scary. Yes, you're freaking out. But the third side of it is you, just like whoever powers, political powers, other forces that be, they use chaos against, or for what they want to do behind the scenes. So can we. So can we. When there is chaos, who is paying attention to all the nitty-gritty rules? Who is attentive to everything going on? Who's counting everything? Right? It can be mayhem. It can be a little dangerous, right? At the same time, we're not suggesting you try to get away with something in the chaos. Not at all. We're trying to say that sometimes periods where things are disrupted and chaotic and they're not moving in the same, bureaucratic way that they do, or sometimes you can leap, you can make a jump, you can change your life faster than ever before because of the chaos. I'll give you one example, a silly analogy, but I was working as a waitress many years ago, and they had about 10 feet of room to put the plates, the dinners for everybody. And there must have been seating for 200 people in this place. So it was utterly ridiculous what was going on in the kitchen. And you had to run. And of course, plates are piling up. People can't get their dinner on time because one waitress is, some waiter or waitress is like 100 yards away and they didn't come in for their plates yet. And they need to move for the next ones. And there's no room to put anything. And there's not enough. There's one cook. That's chaos. Okay. That's chaos. So at the same time, though, I was new at the waitressing job. And so because they were in such chaos, nobody was monitoring whether I was doing my job perfectly. They needed us too badly. We were all newbies and they needed us. Nobody was like, oh, by the way, next time, I want you to bring the water or pour the water that way, or this is where that goes, or no, it's chaos. And so in one way, many of us that started who were brand new, we kept our jobs longer than we might have if there had not been chaos, because things go unchecked. And some people even moved up the ladder and were given more responsibility because they just needed you to do it. Right? There's no waiting for the promotion and waiting until you've been there 6 months. It's like, damn, we need somebody now. Can you do it? Okay. Jump in. So that is one of the strategic and positive ways to think about whatever hits you right now. Look at this next 2 years as a time when so much is going to change that If you gather your will and you take care of yourself and you have a goal, you might be able to get to your goal faster than ever before. Or you can be sitting around crying in your beer about the injustice and nothing's going to change that. There's a choice to be made at a time like this. Let's take a look now at Donald Trump's chart. I made a reel today, but I'll reiterate what I said. For the last 2 weeks, today we're July 14th. For the last 2 weeks, I kept hearing July 13th over and over in my head. And I thought maybe it was personal because I was expecting a friend to come into town. And I kept wondering, is she coming or is she not coming? And I kept hearing July 13th, July 13th. I'm like, what the heck? And then I also had about 3 little visions of Donald Trump and a gun. And I saw him facing us, and I saw the gun on this side. And I saw, it's like it wasn't fired. There was no violent bullet. There was no gunfire. There was like a sort of a feeling of like a bubble of energy. I know that sounds really strange, but that's the vision. It wasn't a firing of something. It was and it wasn't like fake and like click, click, it won't go off. It wasn't some fake bullet. It was like a force field or something weird. And I kept asking myself, is this gonna actually happen? Is he gonna be in danger? And I kept hearing, no, he's gonna survive this. No problem at all. Now, I get a lot of these visions and I get a lot of details when they come with it. But as you just heard, if I had said that 2 weeks ago, right, people might think that I'm nuts unless they start watching everything I've ever said and make notes and go, oh, she's actually right. And oh, it's metaphoric. That's what she means. No, most people aren't going to bother doing that. And so I make my life easier by keeping this to myself. But lately, I've had a lot of people write to me about things that have happened to them that are accurate lately. And I had one example happen right in front of my eyes during a reading where I was describing stuff that I saw and how this person was being seen and what they needed to do. And somebody called them and he said, oh, this is an important phone call exactly about this thing. Can I take it right now? And I said, yes, take it. So I heard the phone call during the reading, and the guy on the phone confirmed everything I had just told him 2 minutes ago. So I'm getting a lot more, like the universe is telling me, you're on point, people know. And so I thought, okay, share what I'm getting a little bit more then, without becoming some political prediction machine. So I just wanted to share that because that's my process. It's how it works. And I'm often not wrong. Doesn't mean I'm foolproof. For sure, I'm not foolproof. But I've had like 35 years of people telling me that I'm accurate enough times, and very often years after the fact. Years. Who knows why this information comes through, but it does. And with Donald Trump, that's what I got. And I am not his supporter. I don't vote in the US. I'm in Canada. But I definitely am not his supporter. And so when I see stuff about him, I have to be extra careful that I'm not biased as well. So anyway, all the dates and what happened to him and the way it looked all matched what I saw. Let's take a look at his chart because it's quite interesting what's going on. Oh, that's the wrong one. Sorry about that. I thought I had this. All right, whatever. We'll use that one. So here's the chart, and can I blow it up? There we go. Good. All right. The transits aren't marked on this chart, but I will show you here. His midheaven is 24 degrees Taurus. So the midheaven talks about your career and your life in the public eye. It's the pinnacle of your chart. It might show your aptitudes for what your calling or your career is. It might show if you have, anything about your public life, whether you'll be in the spotlight or you'd rather not, or if you do, whether bad things or good things will come to you or not, whether you have power or you don't. And so his is quite interestingly 2 degrees away from Mars, Uranus, and Algol on his midheaven, right as there's an assassination attempt in the election. Now, you could also argue, because 24 degrees is, 2 degrees, 2 degrees ago is only, Jesus, excuse me, in the last couple of weeks. Now, his trials, and his convictions on these 34 counts are also right around this time of his midheaven. And we're going to have to see now in the aftermath, how does he react? How does he react after this? And how does the press react to him? And how does this affect his campaign? Whether this boosts his, this because of Algol being like considered a demon and jealous and having this, highly seductive power. It's said sometimes people can rise, materially during that kind of influence, but also with a caveat, with a catch, with a price to pay. But his whole chart sort of says that, because he has Regulus on his ascendant, which is also about an assassinated king, by the way. His Mars is on Regulus on his ascendant, which is exactly squaring what just happened now. 2 assassination related influences affecting him and affecting Mars. So the thing is, you could say the assassination attempt is the aggression, the Mars Uranus, the surprise, the jealousy factor of the Medusa, the Algol. Who knows what he'll stand up and say after this? He could spin this in any direction, or he could be losing it. It's also interestingly going to take away all the attention from Biden's campaign for a while. It'll also stop all of the scrutiny on Joe Biden's mental fitness, I would imagine, too. And it might give them a chance to sort of prepare a little better. So I'm really not surprised that something happened in his chart based on that aspect, squaring right on his midheaven and squaring his Mars and ascendant. Even if he weren't running for president, we would have expected something to happen for him. Now, the other thing is, when you see an event in astrology, it's not some one-off where it's like, oh, like I said, oh, Mars is the aggression. That's what happened. Look, he was, there's an assassination attempt. It's horrible. Somebody else died. If on any level he staged this has huge implications. Other huge implications. What I'm saying is there's a resounding effect, often for sometimes days, sometimes months after an event like that in your life. The implications of this, it's sort of like another January 6th. It's like another traumatic event for the US to process, another polarizing event for the US, another thing that's going to require investigations and scapegoating certain people, and it can go on and on and on. And it's like, here we go again. So because it's hitting his Mars and touching Regulus as well, this is just astrological based, not, you know, my personal opinion of Donald Trump, but we would expect that something activating, you know, Mars and Leo with Regulus, squaring this demonic Algol in Taurus, would not be beneficial in the long run. Even if it might be beneficial for now, it's not beneficial over the long run. There's a fall from grace in both of those allegories. It's just a matter of, you know, when does that fall from grace actually happen? According to this other astrologer that I mentioned, there's 3 big dates where Mars and Uranus come together again, and that means for all of us, and including Donald Trump, there is a point where these things, whatever's happening now for you, gets sort of revisited 3 separate times before it is finished. And that is June 15th, 2025, November 5th, 2025, and July 4th, 2026. That's when there will be like a reactivation of this wound, whatever this brings. So, as I said, regardless of my personal feelings of him, I would have said this is a very dangerous time for you. I would have said you lay low, you don't call public attention to yourself. That's what I would have said if it was one of you guys. Yeah, and I would have told them, be careful of accidents, be careful of bravado, because there's all of this jealousy and eyes on you and, right, trying to get back at you, defeat you, cut your head off, assassinate the king. He's gotten too full of himself with Regulus. It's like, this is double whammy. So I would be like, which we all know he won't. Yeah, so it's going to be, just like they say, interesting times. Interesting times. All right. I'm going to leave it off there. I'm not going to do predictions for every sign and what house that's affecting just yet. But if you message me below, maybe I will do a video like that. The next video I'm going to do, I really would like to just focus on what's coming up for the full moon. And this aspect is still included in this full moon. So we're going to see between now, July 15th, this aspect, and the full moon on the 21st. It's a big week, folks. Whatever culminates this week is a big week for us all. So as I said before, energy's coming at you. Something surprises you. Let it hit you in the head and be stunned. You can be victimized by it, or you can catch it and deflect it. I want you to just think about that. All right, you take care till next time.